Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is someone who stopped decapitating people after watching this movie. It's Lisa Leahy.
What's up? I mean, I figured it was probably a little gauche. It's something you shouldn't do in public. So, I saw this and I saw people's reactions and it was like, oh, I probably should give that up.
Yeah, because he really does look, Guywan really does look silly decapitating this Green Knight in this scene because he doesn't have, he probably could have just slugged him in the arm.
Yes, I mean, he went full tilt, took the shot on a guy who was just on his, leaning over for him. It's like, I think Reddit would be very proud, this is definitely an am I the asshole situation. This guy.
Today I effed up by.
Whatever kind of hit I wanted. AITA, yeah, you kind of are, Gowan.
Oh my gosh, I would love to see TIFU. A Green Knight came into the chamber today and he wanted to play a game, and he said whatever we hit him with, he'll hit us with a year later, and I chopped off his head. So I guess I'm getting my head chopped off in a year.
Yep.
I mean, it's just yeah.
He said it was a game.
Yeah,
I had to win.
And then even Arthur or King, I guess there's King and Queen in this movie. King's like, hey, this is it's a game, you don't have to chop his leg off. This isn't the Black Knight.
Right.
Give him a slug. Give him, pinch him on the back of his forearm, on the back of his tricep, on his arm.
I mean, give him a wet willy. I mean, this would have been fine. He didn't have to take it as far as he did.
Oh, wet willy.
I'm very mature for my age.
Just gives him a wet willy, and then it's like I have to
fall it over.
It's like I have to journey for 6 days to go get a wet willy.
I think I just wrote the parody. Somebody get Mel Brooks on the phone.
Oh gosh, that would be beautiful. I gotta go deal with Barry Keoghan. That's not gonna be fun. Oh gosh.
I love it.
Oh man, and then I gotta go deal with Joel Edgerton. I got Essel out there stealing my stuff and taking pictures of me.
Yep.
We're taking this incredibly artful film that David Lowery and his crew thought out over years, and they just shot it in 1:8:5 aspect ratio to make everything look large and make the close-ups look beautiful. And they decided, you know what's smart though? This movie had a $15 million budget. Mm-hmm. And I like that they decided to shoot in 1:8:5 because I don't want the clip sides. I'm kind of getting tired of that. Last year had Passing, and this is a very good movie. But you're just like, all right, I get it. But this one I think I've really enjoyed 2:1 the aspect ratio lately too, because it just gives you a nice sense of height. Now you know why Spielberg wanted T-Rex in 1:8:5.
Oh, absolutely.
And you when you don't have much budget, you don't want that widescreen. You want to fill the screen. You want to make everything look bigger. Mm-hmm. And I think that was such a shrewd choice on the part of David Lowery to do that. Also, cinematographer Andrew Praz Palermo. And also, I'm really obsessed with I'm gonna let you talk eventually. I'm sorry. I'm really obsessed with Jade Healy, the production designer, because she did Marriage Story, right? Then she did I, Tanya, The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
God, yeah.
Yeah, she's been on a beast mode run, and she also started off on, you're gonna like this, The House of the Devil.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, right? So
that movie's great.
I was reading through, I'm such a film nerd that I was looking through Jade Healy's IMDb page. I was like, yes. She did Mississippi Grind. I love Mississippi Grind. That's such a good movie. God. So yeah, I was nerding out. But let's get back to you here. So this is gonna sound crazy. I watched Green Knight the first time.
I think we already sound crazy.
You're right.
We've just totally ripped the Band-Aid off right from the beginning.
People are used to that in MFF here. When I first watched The Green Knight, I enjoyed it. It wasn't in my top 10 of the year. I liked it. We rented it from A24 screening room, so we sat down, immersed ourselves in it, and I dug it. I appreciated it. I liked the production design, but I never thought about it. And then I started hearing you talk about it, on Movies, Films, and Flicks, on wherever else you talk about movies, and just hearing you, you just really seem to love this film. And we've covered not Superbad. We've covered Brightburn.
Brightburn.
I was thinking Super, the James Gunn movie, and then Brightburn, which are both James Gunn. Well, one's produced, one's directed. But yeah, so we talked about Brightburn, which a movie I didn't love until we talked. And then we talked about the Hereditary movie I still don't like, but we had a great conversation.
Speaking of decapitations.
Yeah. Does Brightburn have decapitations?
Sort of. So he rips this guy's like jaw off. It gets busted in the thing. I don't think there's an actual decapitation though. I now have to go back because apparently I have a type.
Yeah, heads getting mutilated by swords or hands.
Oh, I feel like the FBI is watching me closely and just going, what is wrong with this one?
But you like so just this like what do you love about this movie? How about that?
It's interesting because my husband and I went to go see it together, and he doesn't frequent the movies the way I do. But, he had seen the trailers, and he was like, and I said to him, are you interested in this? He's like, yes. I said, cool, let's go see it together. And for a movie that, it's not, I wouldn't say it's long, because it's really not. It's what, 2:15, something like that, 2:10.
Yeah.
I can see where the average moviegoer might go see this movie and be bored with how slow it is.
The Green Knight, more like no night.
The red light. Around here in New England, it would be the yellow light, like hurry up and go faster. But I can see why people would think it was slow. And I went to watch it again the other day, and I went, okay, so I'm just going to watch half of it, and then I'll watch the other half tomorrow. And I watched the whole thing in one sitting because I just get so pulled into this world. And my husband felt the exact same way. Like, even if I'm sitting in a theater and I'm enjoying a movie, I'll check my watch just to see how long it's been. I use the Run P app a lot, and I check that just to see which P time is coming up now. I never did that with this movie. There's something about this fantasy world, this story, and this journey, and the different things that Gawain runs into and that he encounters that just completely capture me. I'm very much enamored with stories like Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere, American Gods. I love the idea that we walk around in reality, but there's something just beyond our reach, like Narnia or whatever. So it's like if you just found the right crack in the wall, or if you found just the right, sunspot or something, you could step into a different place that's part of our world. And I love that kind of magical realism. For some reason, has just always been a draw for me. I actually have a tattoo that says allergic to reality, compelled by fiction. It's why I'm such a big movie dork. It's why I'm a voracious reader. It's just constant. I want to lose myself in whatever it is on screen. I want to forget that I'm sitting in the real world. And this movie does it. And I can't put my finger on what this one does that some others don't, where I just got so drawn in. I am not somebody who's obsessed with the Arthurian legends. I'm not somebody who has read all of the stories. I mean, I had to read Gawain and the Green Knight when I was in high school, but I don't remember it because it was in verse and we didn't really understand it then. So I only really had a kind of a peripheral memory of what the actual story was. But I see A24 and I'm in. I don't care what it is. So this was A24. I said, great. Dev Patel, bonus, because I think he is exceptional in everything. But there's just the world of this movie. I think I am enamored by a lot of the things that might frustrate people in this movie. Some of the things that we don't understand, certain scenes, one in particular, where people are like, what was the point of that? I love that stuff.
Got it.
I think it just adds to the mysticism of it. So I think that's why I love this movie so much, and I've been saying it all along, my emotional attachment to Ghostbusters Afterlife aside, this is my favorite movie of last year.
Oh, wow. And you and Ryan G are both big fans of this film.
Yes. He and I are big A24 fans. We've had a lot of conversations about Men. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
No, you don't.
No, I love Alex Garland. I got it.
No.
And Jesse Buckley.
So do I.
I got you. But see, what's crazy for me is with A24, I just feel like I know what to expect. So when I went to go watch The Green Knight, well, like David Lowery, right?
Yes.
I guess when people said The Green Knight, they made the trailer scene epic, but this is a guy who had Rooney Mara eat almost an entire pie in a ghost story. So I knew that this movie was going to be moody. I knew that it was going to be visually stunning. I knew that it would be quiet and introspective, and it was not going to be what you thought. And I think that's what and it's interesting. I have to do so much research for movies for a living, and I've realized that A24 has one of the biggest problems A24 has is that when it comes to marketing their films to the mass populace, they run into some issues because
yes, they do.
cinephiles like you and I, we love A24. I mean, we did an A24 draft on our Hereditary episode. We know what A24 is about. But if you have to market It Comes at Night, or if you have to market The Green Knight, or Men, like you said,
Yeah.
that's a trailer. Like, if you're cutting the trailer, that's almost your worst nightmare.
Yes.
Because we need A24 is so important right now. Like, Everything Everywhere All at Once doing great at the box office.
Oh, brilliant
But
film.
it's just so tough to market it. But you know what's interesting? I went into this one expecting a full-on David Lowery and A24 movie, but for some reason it didn't resonate with me until I read more about it and how, the color, the way they chose their colors, the way that I mean, I have so many notes here. This is ridiculous.
I love it.
But then you know what the problem is? I take a ridiculous amount of notes and then I just lose them all because
You
I
can
have
start using like Evernote or something in your phone.
that's too practical. I don't do that. But like,
Logic.
like the greens is obvious. It's like the simplest thing I could have done. Greens became the earthy pagan colors. Reds became the more evil magics. When Merlin does a spell early in the Great Hall, there's this red light. I like that we made the era of Camelot evil. They've gone too far, logged the entire forest, clean cut the whole landscape, and they've lost touch with nature. That helped color code their world as well. So when you think about there's other color coded shots, like with that amber finale color in mind, he worked backwards. So like he thought about the magic in the film. What color would that have? It's just really, really interesting. You know, he walks into to find the Green Knight after the year and he's shrouded in yellow.
Yes.
When he is inside the castle, when he is with King and Queen, they look sickly.
Yes,
There's not much life there. But then he gets through the expanse, he gets through the mountains, there's a 2-minute shot of him just on a horse. He's in the woods, and then you get claustrophobic inside the castle, then it leads to the Green Knight inside an enclosure. So it's really interesting. This movie starts quite claustrophobic, and then it expands, but then it works its way back to being claustrophobic. And for me, as far as storytelling is concerned, I really love that. And it sort of helps guide the way you feel. The wardrobe helps guide how you react to certain colors. And I just thought the more I read about it, the more I realized that it was a $15 million movie. Then I really began to love it. It's like when I learned Crawl had a $12.5 million budget, and then it became my favorite movie ever.
It's so great.
But 12.5, all that water in a tank, like that's.
Yes. That's so smart.
I just want to bow.
Yes,
but
exactly.
Like they went to Ireland to shoot this movie, and so you have beautiful vistas everywhere you can shoot. They shot in Ireland because of the caves that they had there. They didn't care about making it historical, which makes me happy. And also, there's a scene I love in the behind the scenes footage of the Blu-ray where David Lowery is talking about the movie and he's holding a LaCroix, which makes me laugh because like every director always has a LaCroix or a coffee in their hands, because I worked on so many sets. And I was watching Heart of Darkness, the Apocalypse Now documentary, and there's a scene where Coppola goes, Hearts of Darkness, and then he goes, "Can I get a seltzer water?"
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but it just made me laugh because I just started thinking about all the seltzer water in directors' hands or sparkling water that I've seen over the years. But I guess,
just not classy enough to like that stuff.
I got a Spindrift right now that is delicious. But I love how thrifty this movie is.
Yeah.
And I never once feel I never once feel like they are stretching the budget, because you have a Blumhouse podcast.
I do. Between the Scares. Yeah.
Now, when you watched The Purge 2, which is Blumhouse, correct?
The Purge we haven't gotten to the second one yet.
Oh, okay. The Purge 2, you can feel the budget being stretched. They wanted to create a massive world, but they didn't have the budget for it, so you felt it.
Correct.
This movie, they were very shrewd and wise about where to shoot. And I feel like that helped the film because it never feels stretched. And it always feels quite modern. And it's good.
It feels like you feel this journey. You know, like you talk about the claustrophobia, you talk about like these open spaces. I mean, you almost feel agoraphobic in some of them. This idea of this vast journey he has to take. And it could have looked like, oh, he's in another field. Great. Like they had enough of these different landscapes where he's in the forest with these towering trees, and it looks like they go on forever. And then he's in the mountains, and then he's by this stream, and then he's, the St. Winifred section, and he's near this house, which is near a pond, but it's deep in the forest. And, you've got this distance. I mean, that early tracking shot where he's riding away from Camelot right at the very beginning, that shot that you almost would be like, okay, how long is this shot gonna go? There's just this wonderful feeling of distance already, and like how far he has to go for this journey, which I expect they really didn't have to travel too far within their scope, but it feels like they did. Like you feel like he's just eons away from his home, and I just think they've done such a good job with it, like you said.
And I do love a film that actually uses on-location shooting, because this movie had the luxury of shooting before COVID, before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. So they were able to use Ireland and all of its resources wonderfully. Now, Jade Healy did build the massive throne room set, and they had a tank of water for the scene where he dove to get the decapitated head, which they were supposed to shoot it one day, but it got a ton of mildew in there, so they couldn't do it. So they just shot his head on fire in the beginning instead. But it's all production problems. I love production problems. But yeah, you feel the on-location shoot, and I think that adds a lot to his journey. And you know what's nice too is, man, this plays so differently. It's not, when he learns his lesson, it's not overblown at the end. When he accepts his fate, you get that whole visual of him going through his life depressed because he knows he's lying and the horrible things he did. And that never feels overblown. It never feels... Maybe that's a testament to Dev Patel and the way he plays it as sort of he's kind of a cad, right? But he's also very naive, and he's clearly not a knight.
Yes,
at
correct.
all, which people keep reminding him of. Everyone tells him he's not a knight.
Because no, it's the reverse. They all think he's a knight,
and then
he
they learn he's not.
Correct them.
Yeah, that's true. In the beginning,
a lot of times he doesn't correct them. He doesn't correct, so he never corrects them until he's caught. If that makes sense.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I should have framed it like that. And then he's like,
well, I never said that. He's like, but it's like, a lie of omission is still a lie. You were happy to take on that role instead of correcting me and making sure that I knew you weren't, which is not one of the, what is the word, tenets of knighthood. There's a coming of age here where it's this journey. They joke a little bit about him coming back a changed man, but he really does. Because it's not until that final encounter with the Green Knight where he finally does get his act together, because he has missteps all over the place throughout this entire journey.
He really does. And
Joseph Campbell would be very proud. Hero's journey stuff.
That'd be awesome if Marlon Brando was just like a CGI Marlon Brando was there at the end next to the Green Knight.
I think of who played the Wizard of Oz? Like, who played Pay no attention to that man behind that greenery. Just Brando's head floating over.
Like, Lowry, you went for it. This is I love that book. Oh my god. Yeah, it's so fresh in my mind because I just watched that documentary yesterday. But no, I think every year.
I teach Heart of Darkness and I show Apocalypse Now every year.
Oh wow.
To my seniors.
Okay, you have seniors, cool. I showed my seniors once. I showed them I Heart Huckabees one time, my humanities kids.
How'd that go over?
I didn't get any trouble because all the kids were 17, 18.
Yeah.
But the concepts in it, I'm happy I showed it to them because it's interesting. When they got over some of the initial kind of sophomoric hijinks, they really got into it, which is pretty cool. But yeah,
we're way off the rails here.
Yeah. Well, we both taught high school, or you currently teach. I teach college right now.
I am still there. Yes.
Yeah. I'm at my school in downtown Atlanta.
Love it.
But you just won Teacher of the Year.
I won. Yes. So I won my district Teacher of the Year. I'm a finalist for State Teacher of the Year.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, but they haven't announced anything yet. So it's kind of been pins and needles because there are 4 finalists and nothing has been announced. And it's like, school ends next week. What are you guys waiting on? Like,
they should listen to this episode.
I mean, really? Like, I don't know. It's interesting because it's like, please God, don't make us wait until September for this. Like, you guys are running out of time. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Actually, you know what's really interesting about this hero's journey, for me at least, where, we talk about the Odyssey and all the kind of mini stops, but what's nice is that he's not forcefully pushed out of Camelot.
No.
Because if you think about Aquaman, right, Patrick Wilson beats him up. When you think about Black Panther, he is beaten, Michael B. Jordan, Killmonger takes him out, one of your favorites. And Lion King, the kid gets kicked out because of his uncle, and then they have to come back and take it over. This one's just a journey towards maturity.
Well, that's what it turns into. But he jumps at the call to adventure. Like, you have the difference between the known and the unknown world, and there's that threshold where you step over it. The hero leaves the known and goes into the unknown, and he steps over that threshold as soon as he accepts the knight's challenge in that throne room space. So he steps up to it on his own, really throws himself into the deep end when he beheads the Green Knight. But what I think is really interesting is that it's hard to pin down a mentor here. Because there's usually some wise person that, you think Gandalf in, like, Fellowship of the Ring, or you think like Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars, stuff like that. Like, there's usually some older, wizened individual that kind of guides you. He doesn't have one. He's just got obstacles and a couple of friends that might help him along the way. So it's really interesting to take Campbell and apply it here, because he doesn't have somebody steering him in any way. Like, if he's got a question, he's on his own. And I think that's why he makes so many missteps. You look at the Odyssey and you look at Odysseus, he had gods checking in with him here and there. So he had a couple of different mentors that kind of stepped in and out. If you think of, like, Hermes stepping in to help him, if you think of Aeolus stepping in to help him, you've got Athena, he was one of her favorites, kind of guiding him a little bit and just sort of keeping an eye on him. Gawain has none of that. Nothing at all.
And there's no Timon and Pumbaa. There's just a fox for a few minutes.
Oh, you're funny. I love to bring up Timon and Pumbaa. I show Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead to my seniors last week, too.
Oh, nice.
They did not like it, but that's another story. Much to my chagrin.
I like my college kids because when I show them something like Rear Window or one of those classic films, they actually get into it.
See, the thing is, I'm teaching them these films in a literature class, and, you have to take
film
English.
Studies.
I'm trying to, I might be bringing that back within the next year or so, my cinema literacy class. You got high school kids, so while they might like film, they may not like the ones you show them. So I kind of have to, college, I think they've got more of a palette, or they're a little bit more open, theoretically, but, I don't know. I still push the bar when I can. Right? Exactly.
That's a fun class.
Yeah.
If I was a senior, I might have learned something in your class.
I'd like to think so. I think I do teach a few things. I do have kids say, quote, I've ruined movies for them, because now they see all of the things, right? They understand the cinematography. They understand the mise en scène. They understand director's intent, like all those sorts of things. And I'm like, I did not ruin anything. I enhanced it.
That's right.
And they go, yeah. Most of them are kidding. But I don't know. I do it in my literature class, too, because I see films as literature. So I am constantly piping up about, check this out or check that, Cuckoo's Nest and Apocalypse Now and Memento. Like, these are all movies that I show.
I'm talking about Memento next week with Johnny Numb.
Oh, I love that film. Amazing.
Do you think, I think the lady is also very important for him and his journey, because when she gives him the green sash and he says yes, she goes, you're not a knight. Like, I think that disappointment and the way that she just levels him with that is important in his journey. So there's no mentor, there's no Timon and Pumbaa. But did she almost expect him to do that? Like, she knew he would cave, correct?
Yes.
So
I think you've got a double entendre there. She's not just offering him that belt.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And I think that's where the disappointment comes in. If you were a knight, you would not be taking me on right now. Because then, like, when she wipes her thumb and it's like, ew.
Yeah, nice insert of that. But yeah, I think that fuels him to move forward. And I have a question. So, like, how do you watch movies, Lisa? Like, when you watch movies, are you looking for clues? Are you analyzing it? Are you going, oh, there's a gun, we might see that later? Are you looking at the color? Like, how do you watch a movie?
I just sit back and let it come to me. I know a lot of people will go into movies, and I mean, this kind of feeds into my no trailers thing. Like, I try and go into movies as cold as possible. And so if I know it's a mystery, I'm just kind of watching so that if I guess your ending, you haven't done a good enough job, because I do not actively try. I'm not one of those people who was like leaning over going, "Oh, this one did it and here's how they did it." Like, I don't want to know, because if I know, why do I want to sit there and watch the rest of your film? I was actually slightly disappointed in Knives Out because I figured out half of it very early on. And it was like, well, that's not fun. Like, I want to be surprised. My greatest joys in life, one of them is being blown out of my socks by a movie. The only movie I have watched in the theater twice on the same day is Saw,
Hey,
because the last 20 minutes of that movie made my head explode. I was like, you are kidding. And I called a friend and I said, we need to go see this movie tonight. You need to come with me. I have to see it again. And I saw it like 3 hours later. Hereditary, I couldn't stop talking about it for a week, so I went to go see that again within a week. Certain movies that I could run a list off of, and I always hesitate to do it with students, because in saying, hey, this is a great movie with a twist ending, you're alerting them to pay attention to things. And
that's
I
a
just think,
spoiler.
yeah, I think there's such a wonderful delight to your jaw just dropping. Primal Fear is one of my favorite movies. And I, in high school, hated courtroom movies. I thought they were boring. I don't want to watch, they're dull. And I remember my friends forced me, like literally said, you will sit and watch this movie right now. And they sat there with me. And that was the movie that changed my mind. I was like, oh my God, like, this is incredible.
Eddie Nortz.
Oh, I love him. I love him. Just that's the way I sit in the theater. I sit in a theater. I have my popcorn. I'm in my back left corner. I hate that people will sit next to me again now, because I don't want to know you're there. I don't want to know I'm there. I just want to sit there and just watch the film and let it come to me. That's how I read too. Like, people are looking for this, or they're reading for spoilers, or they want to know about this and that. I love ambiguity. I love not knowing. There's something about that that's just divine to me. So I won't, like, I don't even watch, when I watch TV, I'm a big Survivor fan. I don't even watch the scenes from the next episode that's coming up next week. I don't want to know. I want it to come to me in its fullest form.
Absolutely, because you can draw from that, then you get expectations from that.
Yeah.
For me, I think you and I are the exact same way. I just want to sit, like when I go watch a Malick film, Terrence Malick, I don't go,
Mm-hmm.
what's the meaning? I just let it hit me.
Yes.
When I watch a film, I just want to sit there and absorb it. I'm not looking for spoilers. I'm not looking for plot twists. Actually, sometimes I get actively, not annoyed, that's a strong word, but I remember watching Nightmare Alley, Guillermo del
Mm-hmm.
Toro's remake, and I remember watching it and looking at the production design, and I try not to analyze production design when I'm watching a movie, but I was like, everything's askew. So you look at every tent, every vehicle, everything outside, like they're all slightly angled. And I
Mm-hmm.
noticed that, and it kind of annoyed me because it felt
Yes.
so on the nose. I felt like that movie should have been grittier.
I
And
agree.
I mean, listen, I got nominated for Best Picture, and Guillermo del Toro is amazing. So, take this with a grain of salt. But I started looking at the production design, and I always hate that during the movie, even though I teach production design. I like seeing the production design the second time I watch the movie, the third
Mm-hmm.
time I watch the movie. If I notice some of the wardrobe is just way too on the nose, I feel it.
Yep.
But I think with The Green Knight, you're able to. But my experience with The Green Knight is once I learned more about it, I enjoyed the watch more than when
Mm-hmm.
I went into it not knowing anything. I don't think I even watched a trailer for this movie. I knew what to expect. I was expecting A24 and Lowry, but
Mm-hmm.
this movie was aided by learning more about it, which is
Yeah,
a
I agree.
weird. It's odd because some movies I don't even want to learn about. Like watching Tree of Life was such a beautiful experience. I didn't. Sometimes I don't want to sully a movie by learning that the filmmakers are kind of dweebs.
Yeah.
So I just like that experience. But yeah, Green Knight for me has only risen in my estimation because of what I've learned about it in the $15 million budget. And what's crazy? This movie, so Lowry, he was at Skywalker Ranch doing the mix for this movie when
Mm-hmm.
COVID hit and they just took a break. Then somehow he became obsessed with making this movie under 2 hours. So then he turned in an under 2 hour cut to his friends and they just thought something's missing. So then he turned in his 2-hour and 10-minute cut, and everyone liked that much more, because I think this is a film that needs room to breathe.
I agree.
This is
You
not
don't
a
want to
90
rush
minute.
this journey. I agree.
No.
You don't want to do cutting to continuity here. You don't want to shave down the journey because somebody might think it's slow. That's part of the experience of it. Like you want this to be a movie of wonder. You want to sit back and just let this wash over you. And it's so much about the cinematography. It's so much about the acting. It's so much about the game itself, like these characters and the development. And there's so much to take in this film that just, it makes it a crime that this got forgotten when nominations came along. Because, you bring up Nightmare Alley. I love Del Toro. I think the work he puts out is amazing. I was really underwhelmed with Nightmare Alley. In fact, when I started the movie, I remember posting online going, oh my God, I shouldn't have waited so long. This movie is beautiful. And then you get to the end and you're like, that story was really weak.
Yeah.
Really weak. It's like, that's it? Okay. And then you're right. Like, if you start noticing the production, if you start noticing, then it means that you're not being subtle enough. There's really something to subtlety in these kinds of films. Yes, you can have a style. Yes, you can be skewed. Yes, you can do, Crimson Peak, like beautiful movie to look at, but it's subtle.
Never got taken out, even though they built it. That's a perfect example. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
It's there, but you're awash in it as opposed to being hit over the head with a brick about it.
And that's a great point, because I love Wes Anderson films, but when I watch them, I'm just primed to know that this is the world I'm in. It's a Wes Anderson world. Watching Crimson Peak with the gothic, the huge manor, the gothic romance of it all. But then watching Nightmare Alley and seeing all the production design and how much money went into making a dirtbag, like kind of festive, like camp. What do you call it? You call it like a carnival?
Yeah, like a carnival.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, this isn't necessary. I don't know.
No.
So this isn't like a Nightmare Alley hate on fest. But what I like though about this movie is that it wasn't tied to being age specific, like era specific. It wasn't, and I think overall it just works. And the score I think is quite wonderful. I was reading a lot about the score, and the composer, let's see, I have his name up here somewhere, but the composer, he was working on this movie, and he actually reached out to Johnny Greenwood. Johnny Greenwood never got back to him, which is kind of a bummer.
Aww.
But he went and he had a long interview. Like, he wanted to be part of this. Like, he bought some recorders, and then they didn't know how to make the music. He and David were just slamming their heads on the desks, and that's why there's 4 songs in the film, because like we can't think of anything. So then they just wrote the songs to cover for the lack of score. And also they got a lot of inspiration from the score of The Witch. Of course, that's Robert Eggers' movie. Mark Corvin wrote for that film. So he had on the score, he had the nickel harpa, which is a medieval Swedish stringed instrument that was ideal for this world. And then an instrument called the apprehension engine, which was a one-of-a-kind instrument that had been built by a Canadian in Toronto. And so they got one of those, and then they got the other, the Swedish stringed instrument, and they made this score, which really hits at certain moments. And like when they had the giant scene, he had this gigantic score, but they both felt like that wasn't right. So then they switched to the song. That's really interesting, though. He's like, oh, they're giants, so there should be big music. And then they both went, this doesn't work.
Yes.
So I thought that was quite interesting.
Completely agree.
I get this scene, but I want to talk to you about this scene because I know exactly what it's trying to do, but I'm not, maybe you can change my mind. But in this film, Barry Keoghan robs Dev Patel, or Gawain,
yes.
And
it sounds like there's an R, but there kind of isn't.
Oh, okay, got it. He ties him to a tree.
Yes.
And from minute 50:34 to 52:27, the camera goes one way and shows him as a skeleton, and then it goes backwards in time like a flashback and shows him at whole. So essentially what's going on through his mind is, if I stay here, I'm dead.
Yes.
So then he initially assumes death, and then he frees himself. So I like that they show, they don't tell, but it's the one shot in the movie that I get it, and I listened. So I listened to the commentary. I talked to people who love this scene, so I understand it. And I watched a YouTube clip about this movie being all about time, which makes sense because they bring up time a lot. I got enough time, but
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm not. It's the one thing that feels slightly. What's the word? It feels slightly precious to me, if that makes
Okay.
sense. And I
Yes,
don't like when movies get precious. I
I
don't.
get it.
Remember what Coppola said? He's like, as a filmmakers, we make these pretentious movies, but no one wants to make a pretentious movie.
Right,
So,
exactly.
and it just felt like the one precious shot. But how do you feel about it?
I enjoy that shot. In fact, the whole time I'm watching, I'm trying to determine whether or not there's more moss growing on the trees as the camera pans right.
Oh, because
Um,
green.
yes, there's a big emphasis on the green. So it's either getting brighter because it's a very washed out shot initially. And so it becomes brighter, it becomes greener. It's like somebody's turning up the color dial on your television. And it's just it gets more vibrant. But then you come around and he's a skeleton. And then it goes back the other way and the color pull like drains out again. And so I'm watching it saying like, am I nuts? Like, is the moss like growing in reverse, or are they just, I still can't tell you what it actually is. And I think you're right. I think this is the first instance of we are getting Gowan's point of view and only Gowan's point of view. It is that moment of if I continue lying here the way I have to this point, because the scavenger and his little buddies are standing there. They crush his well, they break his shield by stomping on it. They take his horse. They're screwing around with him, and he's just lying there. He's
Wet
not
willies.
really doing much. He's kind of like muffling himself. But it's not until he has that vision of himself as a skeleton where he actually gets going. Like that's what galvanizes him to start, move and do something, you idiot. Because, you asked for this. You stepped up to do this, so you can't just die and let it all go to waste. I don't have a problem with the scene. Like that's the meaning that I gain from it. I'm glad they don't do a lot of those though. But I think that scene sets the stage for the vision we get at the end when he's encountering the Green Knight. I think without that sequence, without that 360 kind of turn, I think the one that happens at the end would be more confusing to the general populace.
That makes a lot of sense because he sees a situation out and then he
Mm-hmm.
escapes that situation. And you
Mm-hmm.
do it in different ways.
Right.
So you don't have to. I mean, listen, I understand it. And you know what's interesting? When I have a reaction to something that I don't like, I try to understand it. Like,
Mm-hmm. Me too.
why don't I like this? And I guess that's a strong word for me, but I guess it's just the one sort of precious moment. Even though
Yeah,
it
of
tells a
course.
story. Listen, it tells a story, and that's good storytelling, and it's good visual storytelling. I just, I don't know. You know when you understand something and you still
Yes,
appreciate it, but you aren't a fan of it.
totally.
I guess that's kind of, and then also I love when Winifred, remember when he goes, "Hey, if I help you, what do I get?" She's
Yes.
why are you asking me that? And she leaves him the axe that's gonna kill him. Like that's
I
such a,
love that line. I love that. She's like, why would you ask me that? Like and I love that moment because that's another one of those missteps. A
hmm
knight would never ask, why should I help this damsel who needs me? Like, never. And she's
hmm
so disgusted with him. I just think
yeah.
it's such a great scene. She
You know
just
what's
walks away.
you know what's really interesting is when people have an idealized vision of somebody and then they
Hmm.
let them down, the
Yeah,
blow is that much more crushing. So
I
if you
agree.
and I are, you and I are teachers and we're both pretty mediocre when we start, and then we get better slowly over the years as they
Hmm.
go on, and we don't become bitter, we just become better teachers.
Yeah,
Like, no one will, like, they'll just be like, oh, they're a rock, they're great. But if we show up in our first 6 months, we're the most unbelievable teachers ever. But then we make
yeah,
one misstep. That misstep is so glaring because of
absolutely.
preconceived notions and the experience with that person. So I love when they think this guy's a knight and then he isn't, and then just the way they react
It's just
to
one
him.
after another after another.
And it gets kind of funny.
It
There is a
does.
sly sense of humor in this film.
Well, you kind
So
of want to smack them and be like, dude, how many people are you going to go through before you realize it's not a good idea to let them believe this?
It's like when you're a valet. We're valets and we have Lamborghinis and someone thinks they're ours and we just don't correct them.
Exactly.
Well, I didn't lie to you. But yeah,
Yeah,
and
those
also,
lies of omission.
I also want to talk about the ending because
I love
I
it.
know, I know Lowry left it open for interpretation,
I
but for
disagree.
me, I
I
want him
think he
dead.
gives us the answer.
He's dead.
No,
You think he's alive?
I do.
I think he. So he shot. I know in the original poem by Anonymous, he tricks the Green Knight and he lives.
Hmm.
This one though, he took his journey. He understood. I think he's dead. I do. And did I miss something?
Did you watch all the way through the credits?
No.
There you go.
Wait, what's in the end of the credits?
Oh, you missed it, Mark.
Wait. There's a post-credit scene.
Yes.
No, there's not.
Yes, there is.
They went David Lowery went Marvel.
He did.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. It is, I mean, if it's 2 seconds, I'd be amazed. I think it's like a minute and 32 seconds. Like, it is short. But you see something that tells you what happened.
He's not. Oh, I know you got
The
to stick to the
question is, do
original
you want me to
tale.
tell you?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So you have this entire situation where Gawain shows up to the Green Knight. He's still wearing the belt and he bends down and he flinches. The knight calls him on it. He says, okay, I'm ready. He flinches again. The knight calls him on it. The third time he bails. He leaves. He's like, I'm sorry, I can't do this. He gets home. He sleeps with Essel. He gets her pregnant. She gives him a son. He marries some girl from some other kingdom. He has his new queen. He's now the king. All of this I skipped over the part where Arthur gives him Excalibur. Then he fades away. We have this whole sequence. So Gawain becomes king. He's got his queen, and then they're under attack, and Camelot falls. We have this whole thing. You have scenes with his son where Gawain is sitting at the map and he knocks something over and you almost think he's going to yell at his son because he's become this kind of king, but he doesn't. And all these things happen. And then he has that moment where he's sitting in his throne room and he pulls the green belt off, right? And his head falls off.
Yeah.
And it goes rolling through. This is so very reminiscent of like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark with the girl with the ribbon around her neck. Like you never remove that protection because your head falls off. It's exactly what which makes me think of. And so then suddenly he's back with the Green Knight. And so it's like, oh, this is the vision of what could happen to him if he doesn't get his act together.
Yeah.
So then he removes he's there. The Green Knight's ready to drop the axe and he says, wait. He removes the belt. Now, if you remember, when his mother put together that belt, she put a small piece with 3 runes on it, and it was a belt of protection. The thing I cannot answer about this movie is how the hell the lady got it. I don't understand where that would have happened, but I don't care. I'm not going to dig into it.
She asked about witchcraft, right? So then maybe she
Right.
made it?
Well, so this is another layer of who the Lord and the Lady could possibly be. But anyway, we'll do this in a minute. So she gives him, she offers and offers other things, takes the belt. He's wearing the belt. This belt will keep him from harm as long as it's around his waist. He removes it. And that's when the Green Knight tells him, off you go with your head, or off with your head, right? But the idea is there's 2 meanings of that. It's not, there's, I'm going to take your head off right now, or it's off, parentheses, you go with your head, right? And then the movie ends. And then you have, at the end of the credits, a quick scene where you see a stone floor, you see the king's crown, and you see a young girl pick up the crown and go to put it on her head. He becomes king, and the assumption is his firstborn child is a girl, not a boy, which is what Essel gave him.
Oh, so then this isn't the vision.
So it's not the vision because his firstborn child was a boy in the vision. This is a young girl about the same age who scoots over because she's not a toddler. She's older. She's probably no more than 10. Goes and picks up the crown and is about to put it on her head.
After he was killed by whoever was attacking.
Killed.
Oh, he wasn't killed?
Nope. I don't believe he was killed.
She just picked up the crown.
Yeah, so think about it. You're king. You know, you've got a child. You know, probably a little too young still to pick things up, but you know, I wore my dad's shoes around the house. You know, I picked up. You know, I put on my mother's makeup. I do these things. You know, like I've worn my father's hat. You know, like it's what you do. So his
Whoa.
daughter picks up his crown and is going to go put her on her head, kind of thing. I believe that he survives because he played the game properly. The whole game was a test.
Yeah.
He comes home an actual authentic knight. He tells the Lord that he wants honor. He's not sure about it, but that's what he tells him. Because that's what a knight is first and foremost. He is honorable, right? And so when Gawain goes to the Green Knight, that challenge was a challenge of honor. Whatever you do to me, you need to show up in a year and I'm going to do the same. And there's
Yeah.
so many layers to it because no matter what he does, he has to show up. It's not like he says, you know, you're going to do this to me and then I'm going to immediately return the blow. He says you have to return within a year. So there's an honor element there. And then there's the element of, well, how are you going to harm, I guess, the Black Knight, the Great Knight? What strike are you going to take? Because now, and frankly, Gawain played this properly. Because as much
Wow.
as we goof on the fact that he took the Green Knight's head off, if he had just, you know, kicked him in the shin, right, or actually gave him a wet willy, it would have shown how cowardly he was because he's doing what he's going to get back.
I still would have wet willied him.
I'm telling you, Mel Brooks, dude, call me up. I got your storyline. But if he didn't go full tilt,
He wouldn't have learned the lesson.
He would have been cowardly.
Because it's
If
one
he
thing.
didn't show up, he would have been cowardly. He showed cowardice then by flinching. But then he could have kept that belt on his waist. He removed it. You know, he was and he bent down. And you notice the Green Knight doesn't take the last shot because he knows what that belt is. He knows that he's got protection around him. So
No,
he
you're
doesn't have to take the shot because he knows, and that very moment, Gawain is going to sacrifice himself for honor because that's what he's earned. That's what he's reaped.
No, I get it. I think I found beauty in him dying.
I mean, it would be nice, but the legends say,
Yeah, he
and this
lives.
is what's interesting. Some of the legends say that he's the downfall of King Arthur.
Oh.
So it would actually be a bad thing, but this version doesn't set it up that way. I think because Dev Patel is too likable. I think for him to bring about the downfall of King Arthur and become this terrible king, which I do think that vision is a nod to. I see that last scene as something helpful.
No, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't watch the pup.
Well, now I know what you're going to do in about half an hour.
Yeah. Well,
You've got to go back and watch it.
I do think that by him chopping off the head, you do so. Let's say I wet willy the Green Knight and I have to go walk 6 days to do it. I'll probably take a few friends, make a party of it, get wet willied, come back. You know, like it's so you absolutely have to from a storytelling perspective. I understand the head chopping because you have to go. That's honorable. You accepted the game.
Yes.
You go play the game. I love it. I just think you know what's stupid about humans watching movies is like we watch horror movies and we go, that's what I would do. No, you would not do that when a chainsaw maniac is chasing you. You would run upstairs because you have no idea what you're doing. Exactly. So it's I don't know. I talk about the easy thing. I know we joked around about it at first, and I hope people weren't turned off by that. But I understand. Like there has to be stakes for a journey.
Well, there does, but I mean, I think this is so all of these legends are about morality and honor. Mm-hmm. You know, that's why the Arthurian legends are what they are. You know, it's a matter of honor. It's a matter of teaching people whom they can aspire to be. You know, I mean, King Arthur was just a little runt, you know, when he was a child. If you read The Sword and the Stone and you read some of his origins, you know, the reason that he became who he was because he was so humble, because he was so underestimated. You know, it's the classic underdog story. So
Yeah.
then, does he change? Does he become a dishonorable king? And so for Gawain to bring about his downfall, you're talking about the production value and what you read about how Camelot is kind of in disarray. It's very dark. It's very washed out. It looks ill. There's a suggestion there that King Arthur has gone in a different direction than what he was when he first became king. I mean, they've decimated the surrounding land.
Mm-hmm.
They've taken out all of those trees. They've had these battles. They're just leaving the bodies everywhere. He's got people in his kingdom who are suffering, hence the scavenger. I mean, you could go, we're going to go silly again. Monty Python and the Holy Grail, like, who made you king? I didn't vote for you.
Help, I'm being oppressed.
I'm being oppressed, exactly. This is what happens, this idea of power corrupting the individuals. It makes it so much more interesting when you see the potential. And I think there's a morality story here.
Oh, there is. Oh, 100%.
So it's just, I don't know. I think that's why I love it, because I don't see it as super complicated. Like, I can see the puzzle.
It's not.
I see the puzzle being complicated. It's a little bit of the 3-gallon jug and the 5-gallon jug in Die Hard with a Vengeance. You have to think about it for a minute, but you will eventually get there. But to look at this and say, if he were to do anything other than a fatal blow to this guy, he would have been showing himself as cowardly. The fact that it takes a year and then you better show up, and he does. Even the king tells him he doesn't have to go. That shows that King Arthur has weakened as an individual, as a leader, but he goes, even though he's not a knight, even though, this is the resolution of the hero's journey. He set out to prove, I am a brave knight, and going out there, all of his cowardly mistakes are what actually leads him to being an honorable knight, which is more important.
Yeah, you're great. This was wonderful.
I'm doing my English teacher soapbox thing.
No, and listen, for me, watching him go on this journey and failing, having people just, you're not a knight, and then watching him finally accept his fate at the end, taking off that sash, there is a learning, there is a moral there, there is a morality story, and I dig it. I'm telling you, the more I read about this movie, the more I talk to you now, geez Louise, I dig it. But it's yeah, I mean, for me, though, I guess I just like mean endings. And this wasn't a mean ending. This was a hopeful ending for me.
Right.
Like, he got. But the nice thing is now he can go back and be a king who appreciates leadership and honor.
Yes.
If he ran away and had to wear that sash the rest of his life, everyone would look at him as kind of a jabroni. Right?
Exactly.
But since he took the sash off and he lived, now that I learned, he's going to get that respect. Because when he comes back, people will know. So yeah, I mean, it's a good.
I mean, I think he does right by Essel. We're not shown any of that, but because of what he does in the vision, I think that final scene, that little flash at the end, I think that shows us that he does right by the people who are important to him.
Absolutely. And remember Essel in the beginning where she's like, "Can I be your lady?" And he's like, "I just give you all my gold." Like, he's a real cat.
He doesn't even want to look at her.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
can't look at her because he knows the answer is no.
Yeah, it's a bummer of a scene, and then watching him, what do I get? And telling the people that just getting tricked. And so yeah, I mean, it's a good hero's journey. But I love what you said. He doesn't have a mentor. He doesn't have Timon and Pumbaa. This is an original vision told on a budget, and I think it's very successful. And I know it only made about 19 million, but it was released during the pandemic, and also it's an A24 film.
Yeah.
So this won't light up the mainstream at all, but this was fun. You know what? This was good. This was really good. I really enjoyed this.
I have a ball talking to you about things. I just think it's fun. Like you talked earlier about, like, I'll let you talk in a minute. I know. We're each going to have our tirades. It's fine. It's always a fun I think it's because we are such nerds about this. Like, we can sit here and geek out about it for an hour or so and just keep going. And it's just like we feed off each other's energy on this. Like, this is why we're teachers, because we get to do this every day. And like, as crazy as we are, even if we're talking to a room of people who aren't even paying attention, like, there's one kid who's just enthralled in how entertained
and they're worth it. They're worth it, that kid.
Yes. Because then that's the kid who stays after class and goes, oh my God, you got to see this and talk about this. And then you just get all excited again.
Well, this was great. I'm sorry it took so long to get you back on.
I mean, I kept screwing up on things, so I'm glad I'm back. I'm glad we got everything organized. I can't wait to come back.
What do you want to do next?
I have no idea. You always tend to come up with something. You're like, oh, you mentioned this. Let's talk about it. Okay.
Like Midsummer.
Oh, I'll do it.
Are there any Blumhouse movies you love?
There's a handful of them. There's a handful. I'll have to come up with a couple of things. What are you in the mood for?
Okay, so like stuff like The Green Knight, stuff like Hereditary, stuff like Brightburn,
okay.
Stuff like that wasn't the biggest movie ever, but there's what's interesting, like there's themes worth exploring. So Brightburn, we've covered 3 kind of interesting films of sort of like Brightburn. This kid's supposed to be good, but he turns evil. We've covered some but like movies like this. So it's just something like that. There's nothing too indie that. Never mind. I'll tell you later. But
Okay.
actually, I'll do it and I'll wait 5 minutes. In 2020, I did a string of movies that were like crazy indie and like no one ever watched them. They weren't cult classics. They just weren't anything. And like I wanted to quit podcasting because I was like, why am I even releasing these? Like it was a movie called Patchwork, a movie called Liquid Sky, and a movie called King of Ants. And I was like, why am I doing this? So no movies like that, but you won't pick movies like that. But
no, I'm trying to think of like controversial movies or things that like I feel I have to defend. Because I think that's when it gets like Mother is coming to mind.
Oh, let's do Mother.
We can do Mother.
Because I love Mother.
I loved Mother. I did.
Cinema Score.
I know. Maybe that's because we're gonna geek out about it and how much we loved it. Even though I told my own mother never to watch it.
This is why I do MFF, to talk about this. I have a smile on my face now. But
this is the one. That's it. So all right.
Do you want to promote some stuff before we get out of here?
Yeah, I would love to. So, unfortunately, my main podcast, The Sib List, is on this indefinite hiatus because my brother Mark got a new job and he's working as an account manager for a landscaping company. Well, it's June, which means he is very, 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 very busy. He's actually been like called to various sites at like 2 a.m. So, unfortunately, we're in this weird limbo. So hopefully the Sib List will be back soon. If you're interested and the Sib List is new to you, that's SIBLIST, please go back and listen to our already released episodes. We have a lot of fun. I especially like watching the movies that come off our list of doom, and each of us has our own list of doom, a list of movies that for whatever reason we have been avoiding. We have 2 separate lists. You, Mark, actually just mentioned Superbad a little while ago. That is on my list of doom. I've never seen it. I don't want to see it. Good grief. It'll eventually come up and I'll have to suffer. But anyway, however, my active appearances. You mentioned Between the Scares, and that's one of the Rabbit Hole podcast family of casts. And this is where Jason Soto and I are slowly working our way through every movie that Jason Blum and or Blumhouse Productions have released. Thank God we are in the horror film section because early on they were very not good. And I was a little tormented. We watched, for example, a movie called The Baby Makers, and this is a movie.
Oh man,
you know this
Broken
movie.
Lizard, yeah, Paul, the guy from All the Real Girls, and Olivia Munn.
Yes, these guys decide they're going to rob a sperm bank. This was not a good.
No, terrible movie.
But thankfully, we are well in, like, we've done the first 3 Paranormal Activity films. We watched the original Purge film recently, so the second one will be coming up soon. We've done 2 Insidious films, so we are comfortably in my realm. I also am a guest host on Whatever with Jason Soto, and so it's the 2 of us and our pal Rob Branch, and we just talk about whatever Jason wants. And it's an interesting time, I'll tell you. I usually end up having to wrangle the 2 of them. And then you can catch me on the Lambcast. I keep showing up there quite a bit, and wonderfully, I am very thankful to Jay and Richard of the Lambcast because, you know, when I didn't really have a podcast, I just was making a career of guesting on other people's, and they're the ones who kept allowing me to come back. So I'm very thankful to them for bringing me into the podcast world and connecting me with all of these cool people like you.
Wait, I should. Never mind. I can't say anything until it comes out. Keep my mouth shut. I got a surprise for everyone, though. I think everyone will be shocked about a lamb thing, about a lamb episode. So,
ooh, okay. Yeah. I'm excited to hear.
And also, yeah, just thank you. This was great. And listen to our Brightburn. I was gonna say Superbad, and our Hereditary episodes. So, all right, this is great.
So much a better movie than Superbad.
And then we're going to do Mother next.
Yes, I can't wait now.
All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, and for Lisa Leahy, this is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week.